Today we're going to be engraving a charcuterie board. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how I do it. Here's a board that we've currently finished. It's about 25 inches long, and we're only going to engrave in this area, which is approximately 18 inches. And so what I'd like to do is show you a couple of shortcuts that I take. Because I'll only be using this section here, what I like to do is cut myself a little template and it's kind of a practice swatch, if you will. It's just made out of cardboard. And what I've done is I've outlined in chalk kind of where I want to center my graphics and my text. Okay, so I've given myself a little bit of room between the maple and the walnut, just so that there's a little bit of contrast from the sides. Okay, and then this thick white line here, you may be able to see that. Okay, that's a little bit of a border that I'm going to have on the bottom of the walnut all the way around. That way my inlay is completely inside the walnut. And so what I like to do is I like to take this over to the laser, and I like to go ahead and put my image on the cardboard using the line tool. And that gives me an idea of spacing, location, if I think it's going to look okay, if I need to increase the size of the font, things like that. Okay, here's the design I'm going to be putting on the board. It's pretty big. It's about 14 inches wide and about 6 inches tall, slightly smaller than the size of the cardboard I showed you earlier. Okay, so I've inserted the cardboard onto the table, and with Lightburn, you can do a quick frame around your object. And what I like to do is, I can see that the blue laser light is tracking inside the white lines, so I know it'll be inside my border. So go ahead and start the laser. So we'll let the laser do its thing. Try to zoom in a little bit there. You can see where the letters are getting outlined inside the border. It's a lot easier to do it this way than to actually do it on your board and then realize, oh wow, the text is too big or the logo is too big, and then you've got a ruined board. All right, if you take a quick look here over the top. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but you know, if you just stay patient, you'll be able to do it. I use some of these reference lines, like this white chalk line here. Okay, inside here is my black laser line. So that's basically going to be at the edge of my board. All right, so I'll slide my board over. Okay, and remember we made this cardboard to fit the entire board, so I know that the edge, this is how much space I'll have on the ends, and I should have the exact same space on the other side as well. But this just gives me a nice starting place. Okay, again, the most important reason to do the cardboard piece is just to get an idea if your text looks good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take that out of the way. Okay, so we've started the laser burn here. We'll do a tutorial on the software a little bit later, but today just wanted to show you how we're doing the engraving. Took us just a little over an hour and 15 minutes to get the lasering done. So you can see it came out pretty nice. I've already taken some denatured alcohol, cleaned up all the burn marks around, and the inside of it as well. Now I think at this point we're going to add some shellac seal coat on the interior and around the letters. That'll help the epoxy from bleeding through the wood. Believe it or not, the epoxy will seep underneath the engraving, and actually begin to penetrate towards the top. So we want to be sure we get a good coat of shellac in there, and let's go ahead and do that now. The good thing about this shellac is that it's alcohol based, which means it dries relatively quick. So you don't have to put it all over the entire board, but on the outside of the letters, and then just let it soak in on the inside. You do want it to penetrate the side walls of the letters. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cover the rest of this just to make sure we don't get any accidental spillage. We're going to sand this off anyway. All right, we're going to let that dry, and we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, I believe we've let our seal coat dry good enough. We put about 3 coats on there, just light coats. Again, we're trying to seal the edges around all the letters, make sure there's no bleeding from the epoxy onto the wood. We're going to be using the West System epoxy resin, the 105, and then the 206 hardener. Now, I've also went ahead and I bought these special pumps, and you can see that the different size pumps for the different size canisters. And the idea here is that the pump system allows you to get the correct amount of resin and hardener. So essentially 1 pump of the resin equals 1 pump of the hardener. So if you need to mix a larger amount, you simply increase the number of pumps. So that helps you keep from having to get a measuring cup and trying to measure it that way. Just to point out that the 206 is a slow hardening resin, which means we're going to get about 20 minutes of working time. All right, so we'll mix the two together. You're supposed to mix it for about a minute, minute and a half. Then we'll add the color, the gold metallic, continue to mix it some more, and then we'll do the pour. Okay, I think we're going to mix 2 pumps of the resin. Well, that's 2. I might better go 3. I don't want to run out while we're doing this pour. And then we'll do 3 pumps of the hardener. All right, and we'll mix that up really well. I think that's going to be enough. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mix our gold metallic. And boy, I'm just going to have to guess on this. I don't want to be short on that, but I also don't think that it takes very much either. So let's mix that in. You can see how nice and gold that's turned. I think that's going to turn out really nice. Here we go. You know, the tricky part is pouring it. And if you just get it started, it will fill itself. Pouring a little too much there. So it's never quite as neat as you'd think. All right, now we'll do the big logo. Now this epoxy will take, like I said, about 20 minutes to set. In the meantime, you kind of have to babysit it a little bit. I've got a small torch here, and what this will do is we'll heat up the epoxy just a little bit just to get those bubbles out. Okay, we're back. We've poured the epoxy on our board. I think the epoxy's hardened pretty well. We're going to take it over to the planer and see if we can get all the excess off. I think it's going to look good. So this is probably the most satisfying part after you get your board done, get it nice and cleaned up, and you get it ready for some oil. So let's go ahead and do that. Good thing about mineral oil is that it spreads really easy, soaks up pretty quick. You can see just how dark this wood is getting. Some people like to dunk the boards into a can or a plastic bin, let it soak in oil for a little bit. I don't know that that's necessary. I do think you need to go over it a couple of times to give it a chance for the oil to soak in. You can see how nice and shiny that is. And the side we've all been waiting for. We're going to let this oil soak in a little bit, but you can see the gold letters are popping out on this wood. It's a pretty simple combination. Board butter is made of some food safe mineral oil and some beeswax. So we'll put a layer of that on there, let it sit, and then we'll buff it out to a nice shine. Okay, we've let the wax on there for a little bit, and we've wiped off any excess. And this is the part where put a little elbow grease into it, and you're basically just going to buff your board. You get all the excess off. You can begin to see how shiny that's getting. I love the contrasting colors here of the maple, the walnut, and then the little thin stripes. What look like some really bright orange is Paduke. All right, looks like we're done here. I think the board came out really nice. We'll take some photos of it in the daytime where we get some pretty good light.